Hi, my name is Katrina Gowett and I'm a grade 5 teacher with the Waterloo Catholic District School Board. I wanted to show you how I use Words Their Way, but more specifically how I use the assessment tool at the beginning of the year and again midway to assess where students' spelling stages are, so then I can do the weekly word sort activities using the Words Their Way program. So I'll start us off with showing you the documents that I use. Okay, so what I use is the document, the BLAM, Balanced Literacy and Assessment Measures document my school board provides us with. And I just have this section pulled out of it, these spelling assessment measures, and it just gives you the purpose and teacher instructions. And then what I pay particular attention to. Okay, so here they have some black line masters that some of them you should use and some of them you can use. So there's this one here where you can photocopy it, and this is what the student fills out. They're spelling words. I just use line paper. I don't think you really need to photocopy this, but that's my personal opinion. This is what you will need to give the spelling test. So you say the word, and then you say the sentence, and then you say the word again, and you do that for all 25 words. As you read that aloud, the students are obviously filling in their test. When you have students write their spelling inventory test, like the spelling test of the 25 words, I always make sure that I tell students that they need to try their very best, and they need to try every single word, because I tell them that I mark it differently than a typical spelling test where it's either right or wrong. I tell students that they could still get a number of points for a word if they have the right letters side by side, even if it's not completely spelled correctly. So it's better for them to try their very best and get really close to the spelling of the word than to not try at all. So that's a really important item to tell students. I do always have kids move their desk or move away from their peers so that they have some privacy when they're doing their quiz. I take my time and I kind of I read the room to see if kids are ready to move on to the next word. I also tell them I will go over all of the words in order, and then if anyone needs me to repeat a word again, then I will do that for them so that it reduces the stress around it. I also make sure that I tell them that this is not for marks, this is not for the report card, this is just to help me see what they need to work on for spelling, and then we'll be doing fun word sorts and activities to build their own personal skills. So I think that's a really important piece, so to really get the best out of students and what they're doing. Now here is, I don't photocopy the student sheet for the spelling. My grade 5s are fully capable of using just lined paper. So here I have them number 1 to 25, because that's how many words there are. And I read out the word, the sentence, and then the word again, and they write it down. When I go through and mark it, I have this sheet, like their sheet, and you have to have an individual, this one, the inventory feature guide, which has all of the words here, and then these are the spelling features. So to cut down on the work, because this can take a long time to mark, what I do is I have both out at the same time. So I'll show you. I put this here, I put this here. I take a look at their word. If it's spelled correctly, I give it a check mark. When I come across a word that was incorrectly spelt, so for this example, this student, he had all of them accurate until number 10 for shopping, forgot the double P. So you go to shopping here. He had the O, he had an SH, but he forgot the double P. So I circled that and I put an X where it says word correctly spelled. And then I continued doing that. This one here, the word spoil, he added an E on the end. So he actually has all the spelling features. He had an SP and an OI, but the word isn't correctly spelled, so I put an X here. So even though there's nothing circled, this often happens. Kids add extra letters in. So then I would just put an X here and leave these because it was correct. And then we get down to carries. He did a Y instead of an IES. He had the AR and he had the RR. This was incorrect. So circled it and put an X there. Okay, so you do this all the way along. You'll notice at the bottom, it wants you to tally. If they had perfect down the column, I just circle the total to tell me that that is what it is instead of writing 7 and 5. And then here, I just count how many were inaccurate and subtract from the total, right? And you mark it down, okay? And record it. So this is when I would take this sheet here and these totals here. You do need to add up how many words were spelled correctly. And you do need to total up these, because then I go to my digital sheet and I input just this data here. Up at the top, like, I fill out their name. I don't bother putting my name in, but if you could fill out your name and some of this information on one sheet and then photocopy a whole class set. But you don't need to put in feature points. You could put this, you could do this if you really wanted to, but you don't have to. You can just save some time and do it on the overall class one. Okay, so I'll show that. So this is the Google Sheets template that I created to make it a lot easier for me because it does the totals. So you type in your students' names here, and actually what I like to do is before I start inputting the data here, I like ordering the papers from what I'm thinking the totals are, so they're kind of in order, like as far as feature points and words spelled correctly. You can rearrange them later because it's in a spreadsheet, but it's nice to do it ahead of time. Okay, so I type in the students' names here. I blocked out my students' names for privacy. That student that we were looking at before is right here. So I've typed in his totals for each spelling stage. Once a student has 2 or more errors in a spelling stage, in one of these columns, then that's the spelling stage that they are at, and those are the word sorts that you'll be focusing on with them. I like that Words Their Way is color coordinated. It makes it, I'm very visual, and this really helps me see my groupings. So that student, he's in the early inflected endings, in the syllables and affixes stage, because he only got 3 out of 5, so he had 2 incorrect. So this is the stage that he is at, and I just highlighted across to give me a visual as to where he is. This really helps me with grouping students. I had a strong group last year. I'm going to show you. Last year was the first year I really did the Words Their Way program in earnest. I always did the spelling inventory, but then I never really knew what to do with it until I had some great mentors and people to guide me, and I saw some great movement. So let me show you September. So in September, I had 4 students in the yellow stage, 3 in green, but I still had a bulk of kids in the blue stage. Like, I really did have a strong group of spellers, and but then take a look at February, and you can see, look, I only ended up with 1 student left in the yellow group. I was so pleased with that, because you want to see, at least in grade 5 or junior, you want to see your students in the green or blue stages. And some of my blue kids, they did move up to like almost perfect scores. So I was just really pleased with that. So once I've done this, I've put in all the numbers and calculated. It'll calculate for you the feature points. you put in your word spelled correctly, and then it adds those two together to give a rank order. So then I usually rank order them. You can see how it goes. It's out of 87. I had a couple of kids that got up to 84. And then I create, looking visually at this, I create my spelling groups. So this student, I should have put in here, was an IEP student. So I just gave him his own, and we worked independently. Well, we worked together as a team with his spelling sorts. And then you really want to keep it to like 3 spelling groups, maybe 4. I did end up splitting up my blue group because I had like this group here was pretty high. So I think I split them into 2. And then I had a good green group. So I think I ended up with 3, because I organized these kids that only got up to the harder suffixes. I gave them different words than the kids who were in the bases or roots. So it just really depends. Like every year is going to be different because your students will have you'll have different lumpings of students in different stages, and it's flexible. So it was nice that some of the kids in September, they got to go up to the green level. I don't tell them what levels they're at. I don't even tell them what colors they're at. I just tell them who's in their group and hand out the swords that way. So they really don't have any idea. And it's really not important, right? Because they're just working on developing their individual skills. So anyways, I hope that helps. I always print this page off and I attach it into my just the paper copy of our BLAM folders so that they can be referenced during meetings or PD or whatever needs to be. I hope you found this video helpful in doing your assessments. Since this is a really important part to being able to use Words Your Way, word sorts in your classroom. I found this program really helpful in actually moving students' progress. The kids really like it. When we get to the routines and the word sorts, they really enjoy it, and we all see progress. It's so flexible. It works with my ESL kids, my IEP kids, kids who are quite advanced at the top. They still are challenged with a variety of words. They get one set of words for a 2-week period, so then they really get to be familiar with the specific skill that they're working on and the word pattern. So I would highly encourage you to try it out. I know the initial assessment can seem like a lot, but I personally feel like it's definitely worth it. And the routine, you really get used to it, and so do the kids. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me or tweet me. I'm happy to help out. There are also many other teachers who are experts at this. I am just at the beginning of my journey. I've used it solid last year. And in previous years, I always did the stage assessment, but I never really knew how to properly use the program until I found a couple of great mentors. So they definitely are wonderful resources as well. So let me know if you have any questions or have suggestions, because my program, like teaching, is always changing. So thanks for watching, and talk to you later. Bye.